She was 40, he was 25. Hollywood said it was a fairy tale, but what nobody wanted to admit was that it was a setup.
I just felt like a 15-year-old girl hoping somebody liked me.
This is Demi Moore, one of the biggest stars on the planet, reduced to those words, and she's about to explain why.
Seemed to be comfortable with the enormity of the ex-husband. I mean, I felt like I was not coming with baggage.
But here's what she's never fully revealed until now. What really went down at Diddy's white parties. The same parties where Ashton disappeared into that lifestyle. The same parties where everything changed. Today, we're breaking down the confession nobody's been brave enough to connect. Guys, none of you are ready to hear just how shocking things got and why Ashton was the mastermind behind it all. This is the untold story of how one man's obsession with fitting into Diddy's world destroyed a marriage and nearly killed the woman who loved him. November 11th, 1962, Roswell, New Mexico. Demi Gwines was born into chaos. Her father abandoned the family before she even took her first breath. Her mother, drowning in alcohol. Her stepfather, present in body, absent in everything that mattered. By the time Demi was 12 years old, she'd already endured something no child should ever survive: her mother's attempted suicide. Demi had to reach into her mother's mouth with her own hands, fishing out pills while her stepfather held her down. That was her childhood. That was her foundation. But Demi Moore, the name she'd eventually become famous for, she survived. She fought. She climbed out of that darkness and became one of Hollywood's most bankable actresses. Ghost, A Few Good Men, Indecent Proposal. By her 40s, she'd done it all. She'd earned her place. She'd earned her peace. Or so she thought. Then, in 2003, at a premiere in New York, everything changed in an instant. Demi was 40 years old at the time, and Ashton was 25. Despite the 15-year age gap, they felt an immediate connection. Ashton Kutcher, 25 years old, rising star from That 70s Show. Charming, ambitious, hungry, and within 3 weeks, he'd proposed. Roses on the beach, a 5-carat diamond, the fantasy, the narrative, the story that would eventually become a nightmare. Just 3 weeks after meeting, Ashton had already met Demi's daughters and her ex-husband Bruce Willis. In a bold and surprising move, Ashton proposed to Demi only 2 months into their relationship. But here's where it gets dark, because while the world was watching this fairy tale romance play out in tabloid headlines, there was another story happening behind closed doors. A story about Diddy, about the white parties, and about the exact moment Ashton Kutcher decided to prioritize Diddy's lifestyle over his wife's emotional safety. Before Demi, Ashton Kutcher was a different man. He was the party guy, the Hollywood bachelor living the dream. Club scenes, VIP tables, late nights, no responsibilities, just the lifestyle. In the early 2000s, he and Ashton were regulars in the Los Angeles club scene, living the Hollywood bachelor lifestyle. But around 2003, that chapter abruptly closed. The reason? Demi Moore. Diddy literally watched this transformation happen. Ashton met Demi, fell hard, and seemingly stepped away from the party circuit entirely. For a moment, it looked like love had won. Just a couple of weeks later, Ashton called him out of the blue with a surprising announcement. He was in love. That was the end of our clubbing. But here's the critical detail. That ending, it wasn't permanent, because Ashton Kutcher didn't actually leave that lifestyle behind. He just got smarter about hiding it. According to what Demi has now revealed, Ashton began sneaking back into Diddy's world, not as a permanent fixture, but as someone with access, someone with status, someone married to Demi Moore, one of the most bankable actresses on the planet. And that status, that became his currency. She spoke openly about feeling pressured to mold herself into the version of a partner she thought Kutcher wanted. Someone younger, freer, and more experimental. Younger, freer, more experimental. Those aren't accident words. Demi is describing a specific kind of pressure, a specific kind of mold, the kind that gets shaped at exclusive parties, the kind that's whispered about in green rooms and VIP lounges, the kind that Ashton brought home from nights out with Diddy. Demi Moore was sober. Do you understand what that means? For nearly 2 decades, she'd fought her demons. She'd built a life. She'd become a mother. She'd protected herself. And she was sober. But in 2005, something shifted. Ashton suggested threesomes. Then came the threesomes, something Ashton picked up during his time partying with Diddy. These infamous threesomes were something Demi agreed to, not because she truly wanted to, but because she wanted to be the fun partner Ashton envisioned. Wait, let that sink in. Ashton picked this up during his time with Diddy. This wasn't a spontaneous idea between a married couple. This was a learned behavior, a pattern, a lifestyle choice he imported directly from Diddy's world into his marriage. And Demi, she agreed, not because she wanted to, but because she was terrified terrified of losing him. In her memoir, she wrote with brutal honesty about how those choices made in the name of love ultimately blurred boundaries and opened the door to betrayal. This is the moment. This is when Demi Moore started disappearing, not physically, but psychologically. She was trading pieces of herself for the illusion of keeping a man who was already checking out. But it wasn't just about the act itself. It was about what it represented. It was about Ashton bringing Diddy's world, the parties, the excess, the anything-goes mentality, directly into their marriage. And Demi, traumatized from her childhood, conditioned to sacrifice for love, agreed. She drank again. After 20 years sober, she picked up a glass of wine. Why? Because Ashton casually suggested that maybe she was being too strict. Maybe moderation was okay. Her account of Ashton questioning the reality of alcoholism after she had been sober for 2 decades marked a pivotal moment. His casual remark about moderation wasn't just about wine. To Demi, it felt like a subtle challenge to her identity and her hard-earned sobriety. Wanting to please him, she began drinking again, a decision that would unravel years of recovery. He questioned her identity, her sobriety, her boundaries, all because he wanted her to be someone she wasn't, someone who fit into Diddy's world, someone who was cool enough to be part of that scene. 6 years into the marriage, their 6th wedding anniversary, September 24, 2011, Demi Moore was getting ready for a red carpet event. She was checking her email, she was checking Google alerts about herself, something celebrities do obsessively. And then she saw it. A story about Ashton Kutcher spending the night with a 22-year-old woman named Sarah Leal. On their 6th wedding anniversary, September 24, 2011, Kutcher reportedly spent the night with a 22-year-old woman, Sarah Leal. Moore had actually seen Leal before at a bowling alley where Leal boldly gave Kutcher her phone number in front of her and her daughter. Moore found out about the affair through a Google alert on her phone while getting ready for a red carpet event. A Google alert, not a conversation, not a confession, not even the decency of telling her himself. She found out like a tabloid reader finds out, like a fan discovers celebrity gossip. But here's what breaks this story open. What Ashton said when confronted, his justification that their past threesomes somehow lessened the seriousness of his infidelity was a gut punch. He used the threesomes against her. He weaponized her own sacrifice. He told her that because she'd already crossed that boundary, because she'd already bent herself into shapes for him, his cheating was somehow justified. But it wasn't just Sarah Leal. There was another woman, a 21-year-old named Brittany Jones. He'd cheated before and admitted it immediately, like it was a small thing, like it was expected. This is the moment Demi Moore woke up, not to who Ashton was, but to what Diddy's world had done to her marriage. The parties, the lifestyle, the threesomes, the pressure to be someone she wasn't. All of it had been leading to this moment. On November 17, 2011, Moore announced their separation. She said it was a painful but necessary decision and that she needed to stay true to her values. But the damage had already been done. After the separation, Demi Moore did something she never thought she'd do again. She started using. Not just wine, not just casual drinking, she spiraled. Hard, fast, catastrophically. Demi's addiction became worse over the next 3 years. She started taking up to 12 Vicodin pills every day and drank Red Bull mixed with vodka. She was also obsessed with her body, spending hours looking in the mirror and convincing herself she needed to be thinner. Her health got so bad that she weighed only 102 pounds. 102 pounds. A woman who'd survived her childhood, who'd become a superstar, who'd fought so hard to be sober. She was literally wasting away. And on January 23, 2012, it all came to a head. On January 23, 2012, Demi had a seizure during a party at her house in Benedict Canyon. She had been smoking synthetic cannabis and inhaling nitrous oxide. When someone called 911, they described her as semi-conscious and shaking. A seizure. From the drugs, from the desperation, from the collapse of everything she'd built. But here's what's important. Here's what nobody's been willing to say out loud. Demi's addiction spiral wasn't random. It wasn't just about Ashton. It was about what Ashton brought into their marriage because of Diddy's world. The threesomes, the pressure to be someone she wasn't, the constant crossing of boundaries, the betrayals. All of it started in those VIP rooms, in those exclusive parties, in that lifestyle that Ashton chose over his marriage. Demi Moore hit rock bottom, and when she did, she took everyone with her. Her 3 daughters, Rumor, Scout, and Tallulah, watched their mother disappear. Not into addiction, but into herself, into paranoia, into a version of their mom they didn't recognize. Tallulah, the youngest, explained how scary it was. She said it felt like her mom became a different person, like a monster. She remembered feeling anxious whenever Demi's behavior changed, like when her speech slowed or she acted overly affectionate. A monster. That's what Demi Moore's own daughter called her. And Tallulah was right, because the woman her daughters were watching wasn't their mom anymore. She was a shell, a casualty of Ashton's need to belong in Diddy's world. The 3 sisters eventually stopped speaking to Demi entirely in 2012. They didn't even go to her 50th birthday, and Demi missed milestones in their lives, like Rumor's appearance on Dancing with the Stars in 2015. For 3 years of silence between Demi and her daughters, 3 years of them thinking their mother didn't love them, 3 years of family devastation. This is the ripple effect nobody talks about. The threesomes, the pressure, the infidelity, the lies. They didn't just hurt Demi's marriage, they fractured her family. They cost her years with her children. There's one more piece to this puzzle, one more wound that Ashton Kutcher reopened every single time he pressured Demi to be someone she wasn't. In 2003, 6 months into their relationship, Demi was pregnant. She was 41 years old. For a moment, she had hope. Moore was 41 years old and 6 months pregnant when, during a routine checkup on September 23, 2003, their joy turned into heartbreak. They found out their baby girl, Chaplin Ray, had no heartbeat. Their daughter, Chaplin Ray, no heartbeat. This loss crushed Moore, who had been sober for almost 20 years. She blamed herself, thinking her occasional drinking and smoking early in the pregnancy had caused it. But here's what's critical. Here's what Demi has implied but never fully stated. Ashton didn't fully understand her grief. He didn't connect with her pain. And years later, when he was pressuring her to drink again, to participate in threesomes, to be someone different, he was essentially rejecting the lessons of that loss. He was telling her that her trauma didn't matter, that her boundaries didn't matter, that what Diddy wanted mattered more. The miscarriage also hurt their marriage. Kutcher didn't fully understand Moore's pain. In her memoir, Demi said he tried to support her but couldn't connect with what she was feeling. This emotional distance only grew and started to damage their relationship. Emotional distance, that's the death knell of a marriage, but it's also the perfect setup for exactly what Diddy's world specializes in: distraction, excess, anything to avoid feeling. In 2012, Demi Moore checked into rehab, Cirque Lodge in Utah, $150,000 a month. That's what it cost to save her life. But the real recovery didn't start until 3 years later. On November 12, 2015, Tallulah had just finished rehab after struggling with substance abuse and an eating disorder. She bravely decided to reach out to her mom. This was the first time they saw each other in almost 3 years. Tallulah, the daughter who called her mom a monster, the daughter who'd lost faith, she reached out first. Demi didn't waste any time. She flew to New York right away to meet her daughter. Rebuilding their bond wasn't easy. In a 2019 episode of Red Table Talk, the family talked about how hard things had been, but they healed over time, through therapy, through honesty, through Demi finally admitting that her addiction wasn't random. It was a consequence of trying to fit into a world she never belonged in. Demi took responsibility. Admitting her struggles with addiction had hurt her family deeply. She worked hard to fix things, going to therapy and family counseling for 18 months. 18 months. That's how long it took, not for forgiveness, but for understanding, for her daughters to believe again that their mom loved them. By 2017, Demi Moore had a breakthrough, not about Ashton, not about Diddy, but about herself. She realized that everything, the threesomes, the drinking, the drugs, the pressure to be someone younger and freer and more experimental, it was all rooted in the same childhood wound. A girl who grew up thinking she had to sacrifice herself to be loved. A girl whose mother sold her. A girl who'd learned that love meant erasure. Ashton Kutcher didn't create that pattern. Diddy didn't create that pattern, but they both exploited it. They both knew exactly how to activate that wound and use it against her. At 62, Demi's views on love have completely changed. On her birthday in 2024, she told Vogue that she's learned the most important relationship is the one she has with herself. She doesn't need anyone to complete her because she feels whole on her own. Solo partnering, that's what she calls it now. It's not about being alone, it's about being whole. She even came up with a term for her new lifestyle: solo partnering. It means she's focusing on her own growth and happiness. She's not looking for a romantic partner, but she's open to love if it comes her way. And here's the kicker: the woman Ashton Kutcher married is now friends with Demi Moore. Surprisingly, Demi has also become friends with Mila Kunis, Ashton Kutcher's wife. They even started a book club together and meet every 2 weeks to talk about books and life. That's not weakness, that's not losing. That's winning on a level Ashton and Diddy could never understand. So here's what nobody's been connecting. Here's what Demi Moore's confession about the white parties really reveals. Diddy's world didn't just take Ashton Kutcher away from his marriage. It gave Ashton permission to take from Demi. Permission to pressure her. Permission to use her trauma against her. Permission to cheat. Permission to lie. The threesomes weren't sexy. They were grooming. They were Ashton learning to normalize boundary crossing from a man who'd made a career out of it. The drinking wasn't casual. It was Ashton sabotaging Demi's sobriety because sober women set boundaries, and boundaries get in the way of lifestyle. The infidelity wasn't random. It was the inevitable conclusion of a man who'd been taught by Diddy that status and access meant you could do whatever you wanted to whoever you wanted. He wasn't a victim of Diddy's world. world. He was an active participant, an eager student, a man who brought that entire lifestyle into his marriage and used it as a weapon against a woman who'd already survived more than most people could imagine. Today, Demi Moore is 62 years old. She's sober again. She's a mother who's been rebuilt by her daughters. She's a friend to the woman who married her ex-husband, and she's at peace. Ashton Kutcher, he's moved on. He's married. He's successful. He probably doesn't think about the white parties anymore. But Demi Moore, she carries that story with her, and she's finally brave enough to tell it. Because every young woman watching this, every girl who thinks she has to sacrifice who she is to be loved, Demi Moore is saying, don't become that version of yourself. Don't let someone else's world destroy your foundation. Don't trade your boundaries for affection. Guys, none of you are ready to hear just how shocking things got and why Ashton was the mastermind behind it all. That's what solo partnering looks like. That's what self-love looks like. That's what Demi Moore learned from the wreckage of her marriage to Ashton Kutcher. She survived Diddy's influence on her marriage. She survived the addiction. She survived the estrangement. She survived the seizures and the 102 pounds and the 3-year silence from her daughters. She survived, and now she's thriving on her own terms. This is the story nobody wanted to tell. This is the confession that connects all the dots. From the white parties, to the threesomes, to the infidelity, to the addiction spiral, to the family estrangement, to the recovery. It all traces back to one moment in 2003, when a 25-year-old charmer decided that being part of Diddy's world mattered more than protecting the woman who loved him. And now you know.